Welcome back to the Scotti-BYTE channel, and this is Scott. Today we're going to talk about how to install Unifi Unpoller. If you use a Ubiquiti Unifi Router, you can provide better data than what is in the Unifi Dashboard using the Unpoller application. Unpoller is a lightweight program to collect data from the Unifi controller and summarize that data using the open source Grafana analytics and visualization web-based application. Unpoller is a Docker application consisting of 3 Docker containers, which include an Influx database, the Grafana analytics app, and the Unpoller application itself. So if you don't have Docker installed on your host, we want to install Docker, and the way that we do that is, first of all, you want to install curl, and secondly, from the Docker website, you want to run the Docker installation script, and this is the command to do that. And then you want to do a sudo usermod to add yourself to the Docker group, and then a new group Docker so that you don't have to log off and log back in again in order to be able to be a member of that group. And you can do a groups to verify that you're actually in the Docker group. So then we want to create a Docker app folder and move into it. We do a make dir docker, we cd into Docker, and then we want to set the installation folders for the Unpoller application. So inside of the Docker folder, do a make dir Grafana, a make dir InfluxDB, and a make dir Unpoller. And then we want to build a Docker compose file. So we're going to do a nano docker-compose.yml, and here's an example of a Docker compose file that's used to build this application. We're going to go over this in the live demo here in just a minute, and I'll also have the example files in the show notes. So next we want to create a configuration file. The Unpoller configuration file, we're going to first of all cd into the Unpoller folder, and we're going to do a nano of unifi-poller.conf. And here's what that file should look like. So the URL is going to be pointing to wherever your cloud key is, or wherever your controller is running, I should say. So if you have a UDM or UDM Pro, this is going to be the address of the UDM or UDM Pro. But if you have a USG or a USG Pro, or you're running your controller on another address, then it's going to be wherever that happens to be. And then this username is going to be a username that you're going to have on your Unifi controller, and the password that is on the Unifi controller. And we're going to set that up in the live demo also. And then finally at the bottom, we're going to have a URL for your InfluxDB. So this is actually going to be the IP address of whatever your Docker host is, port 8086. So again, this example file will be in the show notes. You're going to change your addresses accordingly, and even my live demo will use different addresses. So then we want to change back to the Docker folder by doing a cd ... Now we want to start up the Unifi Unpoller application. So we do a docker-compose space up. And we want to check to see you have no errors from this Docker compose. We're running it interactively, so that terminal will list out any errors you might have. Most of those errors are usually due to formatting errors in the Docker compose file itself. So then on your web browser, you want to go to http:// the address of your Docker host and port number 3000. That's going to give you the Grafana web interface. So we're going to log into Grafana with the credentials username admin and password admin, and then we're going to choose our own password. So in order to set up Grafana after we've changed our password and we're logged into Grafana, we're going to have to set up the link between Grafana and the Influx database where the data is being written from your controller. You're going to choose configuration on the left side and then data sources, and you're going to say add data source, and choose an InfluxDB as your data source, and then fill in the details of the URL. So it's going to be http:// the address of your Docker host, 8086, because that's where the Influx database is running. Okay, then we want to include the Influx details. They'll have information such as wanting to know what the database name is, the username, the password, and you can change these, but by default in the configuration file, they're all Unifi, so you're going to change those to suit whatever you want, and then do a save and a test. Finally, we're going to go into the plus sign on the left-hand side, and we're going to choose Import, and we're going to import the dashboard IDs listed here. There's 6 dashboard IDs for 6 different dashboards that you'll be able to view with Grafana. You should now see data on the dashboard. Lastly, we want to do a Control-C from the terminal to get out of the docker-compose that we're running, and then we want to do a docker-compose --up-d to detach, which will cause the application to start automatically anytime the server is booted. So here we are at a username prompt on a virtual machine that I created, and I have a user account called Scott. So I have not yet installed anything on this. One thing you're going to want to do before you do this is go out to your Unifi controller, add a new user, give it some kind of name. I just call mine Unpoller as the first name and Test as the last name. Set it up to be a limited admin. Set it up to be local access only, and then give it a username. Mine's called Unpoller user, and then give it a password. And then go ahead and click Add, and it will create a new user account that we need for this Unpoller application. All right, so once you've done that, our next step is we want to go ahead and install Docker on this machine. So I'm going to do a sudo apt install curl. And curl is already installed on this particular machine, may not be on yours. And then we want to issue the curl command to install the Docker script to install Docker. Okay, now that Docker's installed, let's go ahead and add myself to the Docker group with the usermod command. And then I'm going to do new group Docker, and then a groups command to see that I'm a member of the Docker group, and you can see here that I am. Okay, so now that we've done that, we want to do a make dir Docker cd into Docker, and then we're going to make dir Grafana, make dir influx db, and make dir unpoller. Then we're going to do a nano docker -compose.yaml, and I'm going to paste in my Docker Compose sample file here. All right, so first of all, we have an InfluxDB. I have a volumes command, and in this case, I'm being verbose. I'm saying that we're in a Scott folder, so I changed the volume to /home/docker /influxdb. You can change the part to the left of the colon, but you can't change the part to the right of the colon. So you're going to want to change that. If you want to change your Influx database name, your Influx admin user, and Influx admin password, you do that here. I'm leaving it here the same for the sake of the demo. And then there's the Grafana container. Same thing, we have a volume, and again it's pointing to the Grafana folder that we just created. So you're going to want to change that for your system. And then the admin user is admin. You're going to leave these two the same. And then finally the Unpoller application, again it has a volume as well, and I'm pointing to the Unpoller folder that I created. You're going to want to edit that for your system. So I'm doing a Control X, save, yes, and enter. All right, so now that we have that, I'm going to cd to Unpoller, and in the Unpoller directory, I'm going to do a nano Unifi Dashpoller.conf. Unifi-poller.conf. Some of the documentation for this program tells you to use a different name, but that's actually the correct name to use. This configuration. All right, so 172.16.0.1 is the address of my UDM Pro, and that's what should go there. If you have a USG, it will be the address of your cloud key, or if you're running a standalone Unifi controller, it will be the address of that. And then the Unpoller user was the user I just created, and then the password I've got set is my password 1. You'll want to choose something fairly secure. And then the influx database points to the address of this particular server, which is 172.16.5.5 and port 8086. I do a Control X, I save, and I exit. Okay, so to test the application, we're going to do a docker-compose space up. Oops, we didn't install Docker Compose. Okay, sudo apt install docker-compose. Docker Compose does not come along with Docker, so you have to install it separately. Okay, so now that we have Docker Compose installed, we can do a docker-compose space up. And it is installing the application. And once it kind of stops and gets to the bottom, we know that this is up and running. We're basically looking for errors, and I didn't see any errors here. So next, we want to go over to the web interface. So here we are at a web browser, and I'm going to type in 172.16.5.5:3000 because that's the address of my Docker host. I hit enter, and there we are at the Grafana dashboard. So now we want to type in admin, and the password is also admin, because that's what Grafana starts with. I do a login, and it wants a new password immediately, so I'm going to type a new password and confirm the new password, and now you've set a Grafana password for your dashboard. Configuration on the left-hand side, and we have to go to data sources. And we're going to add a data source. So we click on data sources, we click on add data source, and we're going to add an InfluxDB data source. And the address is correct. It really is localhost 8086, and the access is set to server, and everything should be pretty correct except for the fact that I have to go modify these. So my database was called Unifi because I didn't change it from the configuration file. My user was Unifi, and my password was Unifi. So if you change those, you want to go change them here. And then we say save. Validation error, invalid URL. Okay, let's find out what URL value I didn't do correctly. Okay, oh, it's giving an example. All right, so http://172.16.5.5:8086. All right, now we have those in there. Save and test. And the database has been updated. So now we want to go to the plus sign. And the plus sign, we want to go over to import. And the first Grafana dashboard we want to install is 10414. So I'm going to say load this. And it says that this is a general influx database for network sites. So I'm going to say import this thing. Yeah, influx database. You have to set that, do an import. All right, so then I do another plus, and I do another import. And I'm going to do 10415. Do a load. Select the database as influx and import. And then I'm going to do another plus, another import, and 10416. And load and select the database and import. And then I'm doing another plus, import 10417, load, and then select the database, import, and then another plus, import 10418, load, select the database, import, and then another plus, import 10419, which is the last one. Do a load, select the database, and import. Okay, so what we have as a result of all these is if we go to the home dashboard here, you will see that we have the Unpoller client DPI, the client insights, USW insights, which is really for more than a USW, USG insights, which is more than for USG, UAP insights, and network stats. So as an example, we just installed this, but I'll hit the client ID and it goes down and starts listing all the DPI categories and gives me DPI traffic information. It looks like it's imported things to the database, so this is really great. We go back to home. I can say, yeah, discard that database. You can make modifications to these things, and that's why it's asking. So you can make modifications to them. In this case, I just went to the client DPI, and so here we've got network protocols on it, changes on it. So if I go to home again and discard this dashboard since I didn't make any changes and go to USW Insights, you can see again it has my devices, my switches, that sort of thing. And then eventually it will have stats in these things, but since we just started to collect data, it hasn't had a long enough time to bring in any data. Okay, so now if we go back to dashboard, home, discard, and we go to USG Insights, you can see here that it shows me my gateway, If I click on my gateway, it'll say, well, my gateway's been up and running for 3 weeks, 3 days, and 5 hours. It gives you lots of information about it. Networks, that sort of thing. So those are my networks and my VLANs. If we go back to home, we discard again, and we go to, let's say, client insights. It will give me all the different clients I have on my network. And now if we go back to home and we go to network sites, you can see that it's only listing my default network site. It's looking at latency, it's looking at speed, that sort of thing. And so we have lots of information down here. These charts look a lot more interesting once Unpoller has been up for a while, but that's basically what there is to installing the product and getting started. So now that we've configured Grafana, if we go back to the terminal, you can see that it has been doing a lot of logs for everything we've been doing, and it's showing us how it's accessing things on the network. At this point in time, let's do a Control-C since we didn't see any errors in all of this, and it will shut the app down. And once it's done shutting the app down, which it is right now, then I can do a docker-compose space up -D for detach, and that will go ahead and start the app so that it will stay started even when I exit the terminal, and also when I reboot the server, it will automatically come back up. And if you want to see the Docker containers, of course, you can always say docker space PS, and there are the 3 containers: the Unpoller container, the Grafana container, and the InfluxDB container. In summary, Unifi Unpoller is a great lightweight application to provide additional metrics beyond what is provided in the Unifi Dashboard. Unpoller is completely implemented in Docker and uses an Influx database, the Grafana Web Dashboard, and the Unpoller app, which imports the data from the Unifi controller. An Unpoller can run on any Docker host, including Raspberry Pis, bare metal machines, and even virtual machines. Thanks for watching today, and please subscribe and like to the channel, and we'll see you next time.